for our government just to say, okay, well, your debt is completely forgiven. Obviously, they have an agenda for that. They need votes in November. So the timing is a pure coincidence there as well. But it's completely unfair. And taxpayers all over the country, taxpayers that never took out a student loan, taxpayers that pay their bills and maybe even never went to college or just hardworking people, they shouldn't have to pay off the great big student loan debt for some college student that piled up massive debt going to some Ivy League school. That's not fair.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about fairness, and they're continuing this conversation over the student loan debt debate that's going on after Joe Biden announced what he's doing with the 10,000 and maybe up to 20 when it comes to those Pell Grants. Marjorie Taylor Greene has had enough of this unfairness. As a matter of fact, you know what? They keep posing these in particular ways when they're talking about someone that's blue collar worker in Mississippi should not be paying for some Ivy League liberal arts person. Ivy League. Let's keep our name on that because there's this guy I've heard, his name is Donald Trump. Let's find out where he went to school. The University of Pennsylvania was founded in 1740 by Benjamin Franklin, the famous diplomat, author, inventor, and scientist. Penn is one of 8 private universities known as the Ivy League. Private universities known as the Ivy League. There are over 21,000 students at Penn, including 4,500 international students. Trump went to Wharton, the Wharton School of Business at University of Pennsylvania. Last I checked, at least which was 2 seconds ago, that's an Ivy League school. But let's just have this weird a characterization of anybody who has student loan debt, that these Ivy League elites that keep getting handouts and bailouts when it's so far from the case. But when it's an Ivy League person and you want to actually have some kind of elitism or some kind of a status to your life, then it's, I went to an Ivy League school, I went to Harvard. But if someone else went to Harvard that you disagree with, that means they're a garbage piece of person. Anyways, let's move on more from this because the White House, though, is finally gonna show up with a few receipts. This is actually startling, and I think some people were happy to see it. So in response to what Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying, the White House did tweet this out. It said Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene had $183,504 in PPP loans forgiven, as she's complaining. And they point out as that one appearance where she said, it's for our government to just say it's okay, your debt is completely forgiven, that it's unfair. Apparently it's unfair for her too. You know what? Matt Gaetz was on the list because the White House wasn't done. I'm not sure who hacked their account, but I'm glad they did. They went after Matt Gaetz as well. Congressman Matt Gaetz, 482,321 in PPP loans forgiven. Damn. You know what? They're also not done because there's this other guy. His name is Vern Buchanan, and he apparently is setting records. Because the White House pointed out that Congressman Vern Buchanan had over $2.3 million of PPP loans forgiven. You know what Vern Buchanan was saying on TV on Fox Business? As a blue collar kid who worked his way through college, I know firsthand the sacrifices people make to receive an education. Do you, Vern? Biden's reckless unilateral student loan giveaway is unfair to the 87% of Americans without student loan debt and those who played by the rules. Did you play by the rules with that $2.3 million forgiveness of your PPP loans there, Vern? He did though, but he's not complaining about how it was forgiven for him. He worked his way through that. No one knows about it as much as he knows about it. Apparently he forgot all about it until now. You know why? Because it's politically expedient, hopefully he thinks, to then bash on regular Americans. If Republicans, haven't given more reason for Americans to understand who they hate and who they're actually working for, this is definitely one of those moments. I'm not sure if the White House had this set up and they're like, I can't wait for these guys to complain about it so we can call them out. But here we are.
It feels like they did a little bit. I mean, there's so much to talk about here with this story. I mean, first of all, student loan forgiveness needs to happen. It was a predatory system to begin with. So this is just like, it's literally the least that the government can do to help an entire generation that was frankly kind of screwed over by not one, but 2 major recessions, 2 major economic setbacks, right? The housing bubble and all kinds of other things that have held back millennials and now Gen Z. A lot of the millennial problems that we had to deal with are being passed on to the younger generations already. This is literally the least they can do. And it's also, I mean, the obvious hypocrisy. And it's good, finally, to see something from the Democrats that is calling out the obvious hypocrisy instead of just kind of letting it hang there and letting people just sit with it and pretend like it's not really a thing or it's not really that bad or it's not really that blatant and obvious and actually dangerous to the general narrative surrounding the student loan forgiveness. And I saw, like people were commenting like, oh, why should I have to pay for somebody actually commented something about this. This is a quote, $400,000 art degree. Who is getting an art degree for $400,000? It doesn't make any sense. So these people are kind of making up very astronomically ridiculous, exorbitant, whatever adjective you want to throw at it. All these kinds of worst case scenario situations. And we saw a very similar trend happening with the Roe v. Wade stuff when they were saying, oh, people want to abort babies a day before they're born. That's not a real thing. It's a hypothetical, and you can't make legislation, you can't make laws, you can't enforce things based on this really far right hypothetical that you just came up with.
You can do this when you do things based off of not on any honesty or actually character. You just do it based off of trying to get some kind of political points. There's nothing else left to it. The logic is gone. The hypocrisy is absolutely ignored. And here we are. This is the way these folks think. Again, I think what they're understanding though is Americans are beginning to understand who hates them, because they can't stop talking. They've been beholden to their donors. So this is what they're going to be doing. I'm glad the White House is actually doing it, because the platform is huge.